Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to Sales SAMVAAD. Namaskar. If you can hear me and my voice is okay, can you please write something in the chat so that I get to know? Wonderful. Ujjwal, as usual, the first person to be there on the chat. Thanks, Ujjwal. Uh, can you hear me loud and clear? Ujjwal, can you give me a quick thumbs up if you can hear me loud and clear? All right, perfect. I'll take that as a yes. Superb. Hi, Ekta. Before I start off, I just want to quickly tell why I started this channel. Um, Over the last couple of years, a lot of people, including some of you who are right now uh, watching this live, have asked me a lot of questions related to sales, but obviously I could not possibly answer all of them, and especially, I mean, lacking context, I could not answer all of them, uh, one by one. So finally, I thought, why not do an AMA session and sort of start off proceedings and try and answer some of these questions one by one. Of course, I lack context, but then I'll still try and answer them. While I was thinking about the AMA session, I said, well, why keep it limited to AMA? I mean, I'll just go ahead and start a channel. The objective of the channel will be to invite a lot of people who are from the sales background, who've worked in small, medium, large enterprises doing various kinds of sales and sales related roles, and get their perspective on how to do sales and various aspects of sales. So towards the end of the session, I will also reveal our next week's lineup. I'll try and do approximately 3 sessions every week, and then depending on the response, I'll go wherever it takes. I will obviously rely on a lot of feedback from all of you to see what else can be done on this channel. So, well, without more delay, I would request anybody who's watching the channel, if you want to ask any questions, please go ahead and ask. I am going to start my first response to Ujjwal, who is usually the first person to sign up on most of my stuff. So he had asked me a question earlier on the LinkedIn chat for the event. And this is the question. I think I'm going to copy paste it here for everyone to see. Just give me a moment. Okay, for some reason it's not pasting, so I'll just quickly try and reduce the character limit. Just one moment. Yeah, so this is the question that came from Ujjwal. And he says, I'm working with an insurance company where I'm handling a team of salespeople. The problem which I'm facing is, how can I build a strong relationship and trust on phone with relationship managers? Now, I'm assuming, Ujjwal, you are a team leader and you have reportees. Is that correct? Just give me a quick yes or no if I've understood the question correctly. Now, I can understand totally where you're coming from, because we have been in a remote selling environment for over a year now, and it can be a little difficult to sort of build trust / rapport over the phone with people either who are in your team or who are reporting into you. And I completely understand where you're coming from. I mean, what used to happen in offices where वो तो सामने ही बैठा हुआ था. By the way, I tend to break into Hindi, so if somebody wants me to translate, you can always write on the chat. So when people were in the office, we could see their body language and see whether we've built up a rapport with them, whether we are having a good conversation, whether we are of help to them. As a team leader, am I of help to the person? Is the other person reciprocating? It is very easy to see because feedback is instant. I mean, that person is right in front of your eyes. On the phone, I can totally understand why it can be difficult. So, Ujjwal, I'd like to draw a parallel here with, sort of, I know it's not an exact parallel, but I don't know whether you've ever been in a long distance relationship. So what happens in a long distance relationship is exactly this, right? You're talking to your partner over the phone or whoever you are dating, and that is all you have nowadays. Apart from the phone, you also have video. How do you build rapport and trust under those circumstances? So the first thing to understand in this kind of situation is that trust is an outcome. It is not some input that you put into a system and suddenly magic happens. It's an outcome of day-to-day interactions. For example, if I simply hear someone out, they tend to trust us a little bit more. If we tend to hear them out in a sort of a non-judgmental space, they tend to trust us a little bit. Step number two, if we start asking them how they are, how they are feeling, what their emotions are like, how their day-to-day job is going, that again sort of furthers the trust a little bit. Third thing, if we help them solve particular problems they are facing, for example, if they're facing issues with respect to the sales funnel, which is what salespeople do. I mean, they look at their sales funnel and then start getting into the details of the funnel, where it is getting choked, etc. So if you analyze the funnel and if you start helping your team leaders, then it's quite possible that the trust level will be furthered, because obviously you are helping them. Then it goes a step further if what you are saying to them actually ends up working out. So for example, you've given some ideas to them on what to do differently to get more prospects through the door, and if that actually works out for them, then they start trusting you even more. So you've gone one more step ahead, right? But then again, see, frankly, all that I'm saying here is a lot of advice that you are giving over the phone to the other person. There is one Brahmastra which I have seen working sort of across different businesses, across various levels of leadership, where trust gets built, like super trust gets built. This is specifically for sales team leaders, especially for people who are working as area managers who have one level of reporting to them. And the Brahmastra is like this. If you actually start handling leads yourself, and if you start acting as a sales manager, even though you may be a area sales manager or regional sales manager, but if you start doing the role of a sales manager and your team knows about it, for example, if they are handling about 100 leads a week and you're even handling 50 and they know it, your name is also up on the leaderboard like them. You may not be a sales executive or a manager, but you're an area sales manager, but you're still handling those leads. It makes the salesperson feel that you are one of us, right? You're one of them. And that is when trust levels suddenly shoots up, right? If your trust levels are here, it will suddenly shoot up, because now they feel that you are one amongst them. You are one of them. So, having said all of this, I still feel for you. I understand that developing rapport or trust remotely can be a challenge. It can never do justice to a sort of face-to-face setting. But trust is an outcome. If you do the right actions, if you are generally helpful to them, generally caring, genuine, not always trying to placate them. If you have to be sort of strict, you be strict. It's not a problem. But just be your genuine self in front of them and help them as much as you can. In fact, don't shy away from seeking help as well, right? Even that is not a that sort of shows them that you are vulnerable as well. You are just like them, and that will also help build trust. So I hope I've been able to address the question to a certain extent. Of course, I lack context. I'll now go to the next question, which is coming from Harshavardhan. And the question is, what street smart skills are required to be successful in sales And how can a bookish knowledge guy acquire these skills, and how much time does it take? Please suggest. Oh, I don't know what you mean by street smart skills, Harsha. You see, once upon a time, 20, 25 years ago, street smart skills, gift for the gab, being spontaneous in front of a client, really used to help. And one of the biggest reasons, you'll still see that working a lot in the B2C industry. For example, if you go to a Vodafone or a Airtel store, or if you go to a retail shop, you will see street smart skills of, people trying to intercept you. They're trying to open their conversation with some sort of a street smart idea. Sometimes people singing, God knows, all different kinds of things. It works a lot in B2C. And I've seen that happening simply because the time is very short. You're there for a short duration. The customer has to decide whether they want to buy something or not. So it works beautifully. Now, change the scenario from B2C to B2B. Over the years, as internet has dawned, as buyers are becoming more educated, buyers have started researching your product before you come and meet them. I've started noticing that street smart skills are becoming less and less relevant. For example, one example of street smart skills would be to go inside the room and try to, uh, you know, uh, have a conversation starter which is unrelated to business, right? Or maybe you've looked up something on the profile, they've gone for a holiday somewhere, and you've just spoken to them about their last holiday. Earlier, and I've also heard these skills used to be very, very critical. But in the B2B environment nowadays, lots of buyers do not appreciate all of this, right? So, what I would suggest to you is that please don't focus on these street smart skills. Um, if you call yourself a bookish knowledge guy, well, to acquire these skills, uh, the first and foremost sort of obvious idea is to go out there and do sales yourself, and just simply respond to what customers are saying. Don't try too hard, don't try to impress them, don't try to open conversations in a street smart way. Let them lead the conversation and you follow, right? In the initial days, that's actually helpful. It helps you sort of calm down, it calms your nerves. And You may not be in control of the conversation initially, but slowly and slowly you'll get there. But the bigger one, and this is the more important sort of step is, how many meetings do you do jointly with someone who is more skilled than you? Do you have another teammate, or do you have another team leader who can actually help you do joint meetings, sort of tag team meetings, either on Zoom, or if you happen to be, I'm hoping we'll be able to go physically soon as well. So as many tag team meetings that you can do, you will slowly see that you will start acquiring these skills from the partner or the number of partners you are going on these sales calls with. Since we are in a mostly largely remote selling environment nowadays, I would strongly suggest that you attend a lot of sales calls as a fly on the wall with your colleagues, with your team leaders, and try and hear them out, and also try and participate with their permission. And slowly you will see that you will start mimicking them. Once you start mimicking them, you will, obviously, it's human nature to sort of start improvising on those as well, right? So it will start happening naturally. So I hope I've been able to answer the question to a certain extent, right? The next question is from Anirudh Iyer, and he says, Sir, okay, he calls me sir, thank you. What would be your advice for young individuals who want to make their careers in marketing but could make it to the IIMs? I think you mean could not make it to the IIMs. Well, I'm not an expert at marketing or marketing careers. Maybe I'll call someone in future, on Sales Samvaad, who can probably answer this question in greater detail. Somebody from marketing background. Actually, I am going to bring someone from marketing background next week, and somewhere in first week of September as well. But I know one thing for sure, Anirudh, that IIMs or B schools are not the only way to get into marketing, right? At the same time, I also recognize the fact that getting a marketing role in a slightly established firm, if you're a fresher or if you're from a non-marketing background, can be difficult because, I mean, they don't recognize that you have any locus standi over there. Um, but nowadays, I mean, we are in 2021. One of the most beautiful ways of switching careers is to join a startup. You might be saying that, thinking that I'm biased, but this is what I have seen, what I have observed. Startups are usually more open to hiring people from, different backgrounds, people who may not have a sort of a past track record of having done something. So that is one way you can enter there, into a marketing field. Second thing is, I have seen a lot of people do courses in digital marketing. For example, I know Upgrad offers a course in digital marketing. So if you get that on your resume and you start applying to startups, maybe somebody might sort of take you under their tutelage, and then you can work your way up from there. So B school is not the only sort of recourse that you have, right? Having said that, I would still say if you can make it to a B school, you will definitely have more opportunities to get to marketing interviews in a B school. I'm saying that because I have been to a B school and there are a plethora of opportunities there. Right? I hope I've been able to answer your question. Okay. Next question is from Akhilesh Rao. So Akhilesh says, I have completed 1.5 years as lead generation executive in B2B. My role is identifying prospect, cold calling, and introducing them to BD team. How and when to transition into a BD role? Okay, this is a very good question and a very relevant one. Actually, this question I get a lot. This is very simple. This is actually something that's happening in the SaaS industry nowadays. A lot of SDRs, sales development reps, are asking this question, that how do I move into an AE role? I mean, you'll even see this happening in very reputed companies like LinkedIn. You'll see this happening in Freshworks, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, which is like the sort of Bermuda Triangle of SaaS in India. You will see a lot of sales development reps wanting to graduate into a business development role. Now, see, I don't want to faff a lot. I want to give you some very, very practical on ground advice. My aim is not to sort of please you, right? First things first, we have to recognize that there is a process to this. There are very few people who make it very quickly from a SDR role to a account executive or a business development role, where you are passed on a qualified lead and then you're closing. It happens very rarely. And I think one of the biggest reasons this happens is that a lot of the sales playbooks that are followed by companies in India are playbooks from the US. So they also tend to adopt the practices of the US. So in US, you'll see these debates happening on LinkedIn as well, that a lot of people are now debating what should be the ideal time period that an SDR should spend in a demand generation or a lead generation role before they get into the closing bit. And there are no right answers. See, first things first is that if you really want to get into this, you will have to first catch hold of a mentor within your organization, right? Very, very critical step. And I'm not talking about the Ekalavya kind of mentorship where you're just watching someone from the sidelines. You're watching Guru Dronacharya from the sidelines. No, not that kind of mentorship. You will have to actively go and catch hold of somebody in your team who you admire, who already does the business development role, and you will have to sit with that person and ask them how they can be your mentor or your guru, right? What does that do for you? What it does for you is that it gives you access to those sales calls that mentor will be doing on a day-to-day basis, right? Of course, you will have to figure out the logistics and the time because you have your own role, and after that role, you have to sort of act as a fly on the wall in your mentor's conversation as well. But having said this, If you are able to figure that part out, you will see your mentor actively calling you for the business development calls or the closing calls. Uh, so once you start getting that access, you start understanding how your current role is different from the role that you aspire to be in. See, that is very, very critical, because however much we may say, if we are in a lead generation role, uh, there will always be something about the BD role that you will be unfamiliar with. It could either be the pressure, it could be the whole demo bit, it could be the negotiation bit. You may have seen it from the outside, but doing it is an entirely different ballgame. So what a mentor does is, a mentor allows you access to those calls, where you can then be a fly on the wall and start watching them in action. Once you start watching them in action, you sort of start picking up those nuances. Once you start picking up those nuances, you obviously have questions for your mentor. When you start asking questions for your mentor answers those questions. Your mentor, in this whole process of questioning and answering, what happens is your mentor indirectly starts recognizing your talent, right? They may even do you a favor and start, getting you inside certain calls, allowing you to do part of your demo, right? Some of you might feel that, this is a manipulative way of getting inside the system, but according to me, it is a very, very legit way of doing it, right? Most of the people who build their careers successfully in any field, it could be sales, marketing, HR, you will see that people who have mentors within the organization who are already in leadership roles tend to grow faster, right? Of course, feel free to disagree with me, but these are my 2 cents. That before you get into any sort of training yourself, watching videos of what an AE does, etc., please catch hold of a mentor within your organization who will allow you access to those business development calls. And after that, you will slowly see that you are making your way up, and your mentor is sort of acting as your recommender, or your support system, who will actually start pushing you through the system. Next time your time for appraisal comes up, he's likely, or she's likely to say things like, I know Akhilesh and I think he's got potential. So that's the direction you want to take the uh, conversation to. I hope I've been able to answer your question to a certain extent. Yeah, cool. The next question again comes from Ujwal, and he's writing that I read somewhere that you mentioned, as a salesperson, early success in sales is something which is most important to motivate. What if my team and me is finding it hard to get early success? Great question. I mean, very obvious question. So I'll tell you where I wrote this. One of our guests for future on Sales Samvad, Amit Agarwal, had had posted a poll on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago, in which he was talking about what are the factors to success. And see, I am not from a typical sales background. I've done my engineering, I've done purchase, and then I sort of entered into sales. So I have a sort of an engineering view of sales, and I personally feel that it is not purely your skills that lead to success or a predictor of success. If you are somehow able to manufacture success in the early days, it sort of motivates you to continue pursuing the sales field, right, or the sales profession. I have seen a lot of people who do not get um, early success, and they get very, very demotivated, and then random thoughts start coming into their head. Obviously, I mean, doubt sets in, right? So they start questioning themselves. A lot of self-doubt creeps in, and they're like, okay, let me try and find a marketing role, let me try and find an HR role, let me go for my MBA, and so on and so forth, right? So obviously you start looking for options. And all of this, and what I'm telling you right now is based, by the way, on my observation. These are my experiences, right? I'm not uh, these are not based on books I've read. No. So what I've seen is that if you're able to get early success, it's sort of eggs you on. You start feeling that, oh, I'm really good at this, I think I can make a career out of this, right? Which brings me to the next part of the question, which is, what if my team and me is finding it hard to get early success? Of course, you could be in that situation, and sorry to burst the bubble, but hard luck. I mean, I don't want to again, I don't want to please you here, But if you are indeed trying to, if you do not get early success, you could be very, very demotivated. Your team could be very, very demotivated, right? And so you have to go the extra mile to see how you can manufacture success, right? Now, having said this, there is also a silver lining in this cloud, which is how do you define success, right? Right now, your definition of success could be the way your organization has defined it, which is if you get so many $1,000 or so many lakh rupees of revenue, then you are successful. Otherwise, you are not. It's fairly obvious, right? Because that's the way your targets are given, right? But what if I flip the question and tell you that, Ujjwal, how about you first define the metric of success for yourself, right? Of course, it has to be based on the sales funnel, but instead of closure rate, you start picking a metric which is somewhere in the middle or the top of the funnel, right? For example, you start seeing that the number of qualified opportunities that you are creating month on month is improving. According to me, that is success. Only closing deals is not success, because closing deals is also dependent on a lot of other factors. So the moment you start changing the metric of success for yourself and you start measuring whether you're progressing on that metric, and I'm saying progressing means ऐसा नहीं है कि हर महीने हर हफ्ते छक्का मार दिया. No, not like that. Is the curve going up? If you are generating 10 qualified leads, in a month, next month, are you doing 12? Then month after that, are you doing 15? If the graph is going up, you are succeeding on the metric you've set on yourself, right? So this is the silver lining. What I would suggest very strongly is, if you could start defining the metric of success for yourself rather than solely relying on the metric that your organization has set for you. And one thing is clear, that that metric has to be a part of the sales funnel. It cannot be some qualitative thing that अरे customer से बहुत अच्छे से बात किया, feedback बहुत अच्छा दिया customer. No, those are artificial metrics, right? I mean मैं सीधी सीधी बात करता हूँ. I'll just tell you the way it is. Metrics have to be part of the sales funnel. So I hope you are able to find that metric if you are not getting success, and if or some of your team members are not getting success, I wish them all the best. I hope they get early success. One thing that you can do as a team lead is sometimes try to manufacture success for them. How do you manufacture success? Which is, you try and give them little easy leads, right? Give them some simpler accounts which you know that the probability of closing those accounts or progressing in those accounts is higher. So you deliberately start manufacturing success for them, and you will see. And by the way, this is counterintuitive, because I've seen a lot of sales leaders try and make life very hard for salespeople. Actually, if you think of it in the way I'm suggesting, if you keep sales a bit simple in the early days for your sales team members, you will see that they will progress better in future. Later on, you can up the ante a little bit and make things tougher for them. But initially, try and give them easy leads, try and give them easy geographies where you know that they will succeed. So once they start succeeding, they get into the habit of succeeding. Then they don't want to settle for less, right? So you manufacture your success for your team members, and you'll see. Try this out, see if it works or not. This is not an exact science. Again, I'm sharing with you this with you based on my experience. Yeah, I hope I've been able to answer some part of your question. Okay, I'm talking a lot. This is very energizing. My energy levels are going up, so I'm going to go on to the next question. Again from Harsha. Harsha says, biggest issue with SaaS sales is customer comes, listens to the demo and disappears and don't respond. More than 90% demos are wasted like this. Please suggest how to improve on this. Well, big question. Again, huge, lot of science to it. In fact, Harsha, what I'm going to do is, see, this is the whole idea of setting up Sales SAMVAAD. Simply because, this is exactly the kind of question that is on the mind of every salesperson, that how to improve the conversion in your funnel at every stage, right? Again, no, it's not a simple answer, and which is why I've kept Sales SAMVAAD, where we'll be calling in a lot of experts from not just the SaaS industry, but other industries as well. And we'll start taking inputs and tips and tricks for them, simply because, one of the most ridiculous things that I find in a lot of YouTube videos, especially originating in the US, is that they start giving prescriptions and absolute truths. Whereas what I have seen is that the more people you talk to who are in this space, all of them have these small, small sort of fixes or hacks or totkas, as you call it, small nuggets to share, and those nuggets really help, right? Still, I'll answer your question to a certain extent that you see, first of all, my request to pretty much all salespeople out there who are uh, trying to improve their conversion rate is to come to terms with the fact, right? And please don't get demotivated when I say this, because what I'm sharing with you is something which is based on not just my own experience in sales, but over the last 4 to 5 years, we've been working with a lot of clients across, various startups, especially, and even in mid to large size companies. Beyond the point, the conversion in the funnel improves very, very marginally beyond the point, right? And you have to start doing things very, very differently for the conversion rate to improve, right? First of all, customers dropping off after a demo is not an issue. It is not a problem. It is very natural, right? It is very, very natural for people to drop off. However hard you try to qualify leads, at the end of the day, once people see a demo, I mean, I'm a buyer myself, and I think a lot of vendors give me demos as well, right? It's not easy being a buyer, and we have to allow them that space to sort of think, right? They're also evaluating competitors. Sometimes there are random reasons for not, buying your product. But what you have done is, when those 90% people have not bought from you, what you have ended up doing is you have ended up acting as a marketeer, and you marketed your products to them, right? So take heart in that, first of all. I would definitely not use the term wasted. Those 90% demos are not wasted. I repeat, the 90% demos that you have given who have not purchased from you, you have not wasted those demos. Please repeat after me. 90% demos where people have not bought from you are not wasted demos. You have done a very, very important thing on behalf of your organization. You have marketed your product, which means the direct buyer who has spoken to you may not purchase from you. But if you have given a good demo and they find something useful, maybe they have not bought it themselves, they will be more than happy to refer your product to somebody who is in need of it at a future point in time. So those 90% demos you have actually marketed, the balance 10 you've closed. Congratulations to you, right? But the longer answer to this, please keep watching Sales Samvad. I am going to try and get in a lot of experts, and now that you've mentioned it, I'm going to get them from the SaaS space. And I would request you to keep a watch and tab and watch those videos to get those little nuggets of wisdom. Got it. My next question again comes from Harsha, and he's asking how to build good negotiation skills. Can you please suggest any books on this? I'm sorry, but I do not know any good books on negotiation. I'm not an avid reader of sales books. Negotiation is not my strong point either. I'll tell you why. You see, I developed my negotiation skills in the previous decade, 2000 to 2010, when I was working in the manufacturing industry in sales. See, in very mature industries, what you will notice is that lead generation is usually sort of the secondary issue. You're generally operating in an environment where there are limited sort of RFPs, and you have to go and funnels are not very large at the top. I mean, they're very narrow funnels. I mean, you bid for 3 projects and you win 1. So there, what happens is, since you are selling equipment which are in the tune of crores, and the entire sales process runs into months, negotiation is a long drawn process. So their negotiation skills, or what I like to call as trading skills, where you give something with one hand and you take something with the other. I prefer to use the word trading, if you know what I mean. I see those relevant there. Now, what happens in startups, right, or technology companies is, and again, these are based on my own experiences working, as consultants to a lot of companies, is that what we normally see is that 90% of the conversations, I'm just taking a number for demo purposes, 90% of the conversations don't even reach the negotiation stage. So what are you going to do with those negotiation skills? Even the negotiation skills which happen, negotiations that happen in the balance 10% of the conversations, unless you are dealing with a very complicated product which whose price runs into lakhs and crores, those negotiation skills are they hardly last few conversations. They're more like bargaining, how much price will you give me, and so on and so forth. Having said that, the best way to learn negotiation skills, and what I'm telling you is a sort of implementable and a more practical way instead of going the book route. Please identify the best negotiator in your team, whether they are your peers or whether they are senior to you, and ask them to be your mentor. Just walk up to their desk and ask them, will you be my mentor? I need to learn negotiation skills. Can I sit as a fly on the wall in your demos or your negotiations? If you're not able to include me, can we at least at the end of the week sit and discuss how you negotiated certain deals? What did the other person say? What did you say? What was the exchange like? And ask them for verbatim explanations, not what they tried to say. No, in negotiations it's very very critical to replicate the conversation word by word verbatim, right? So I would request that if you can catch hold of a mentor, again not in the Ekalavya Dronacharya mode, but actively go and in the Arjuna Dronacharya mode, go and ask them for help. It's best to learn from the masters rather than learn from books, because I'll tell you the problem I see with books is that they give a lot of frameworks, but when you want to apply those frameworks, suddenly you're at a loss ki, oh, which part of the framework should I apply here, right? Rather, what you would do is you would just copy someone, because when you start copying someone, you start mimicking them, and slowly you start improvising on your own, because it's human nature to imitate and improvise. I hope I've been able to answer the question. I know not a very convincing answer, but that's the best I could do. Okay. We are 40 minutes into the conversation, so I'm going to speak for another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about next week's schedule, and then we'll end the conversation. So the next question comes from Vivek Chaudhary, and he's asking, how do I help my salesperson be at their natural best in selling? Whoa, that's a very difficult and a very sort of 100 feet question. So, but still, let me attempt to answer it, Vivek, for you. If you are feeling that your salespeople, I'm assuming you're a team leader, are not at their natural best in selling, my first sort of suspicion is that they are lacking confidence. And that is natural. They will lack confidence if they have either not been in the sales role for a long time, or they have not been in the company for a long time, or they have not been selling that category of product for a long time. It is bound to be that they will not be confident, right? One of the best ways of improving confidence, again, is the same method that I've also recommended in the last two answers of mine, which is, can you get them to be a fly on the wall observer in your sales calls? That is one option. Second is, pick out your best salespeople who are usually at the natural best. I mean, if you look at your team, let's say you have hypothetically, you have a 10-member team, pick out the 3 best performers, right? Those 3 performers are obviously sort of the benchmark for you, right? You want the rest of the 7 to be like those 3. Try and start pairing these 7 people one by one with these top 3 performers, and try and see if they can sit through their calls, if they're doing it on Zoom or they're listening in on a phone call, or if it's a face-to-face meeting. Try and see how these balanced 7 can tag along with those top 3, right? Why I'm saying this is natural best, right? What you call as natural best is nothing but ideas or conversation or hacks we have all picked up from someone. We are all mimicking someone else. I mean, even today when I have sales conversation, I mimic my previous bosses with some improvisation from my side. So my suggestion would be, if you could start pairing them up, and depending on the time that is available to you, start getting them into 2 to 3 calls, 4 calls, 5 calls a week with your top performers. You will see that very naturally they will start picking up the mannerisms, the dialogues, those sort of punchlines, those tactics from the top 3 people, and slowly they will start becoming like them. Right? I am not a very big fan of giving them books or making them watch YouTube videos, unless you want to recommend Sales Samvaad to them. You can please recommend Sales Samvaad to them. Um, I'm not a big favor of learning specifically from American practitioners. Right? You can call it my bias, but I'm not in a big favor there. So again, fly on the wall, pairing, tag teaming them with the top 3 performers. You will see slowly they will start improving and coming at their natural best. Again, maybe not a very convincing answer, but I would implore, please try it out and see how it works out for you. Harsha again. Harsha, you are asking a lot of questions. I'm going to start charging you after some time. By the way, if I complete 4,000 hours on this channel, I will be able to monetize this channel, and then मैं पैसा charge करूँगा तुम सब लोगों से, ठीक है ना? अभी कर लो free में. Harsha question. What are top 5 qualities that differentiate best sales rep from others? Can technology help a sales rep become better at their job? Please let me know your take on this. I'll answer the second question first. Can technology help a sales rep become better at their job? Absolutely yes. 100% yes. I'll give you an example. I've used in the past simple tools like Lucia. If you've heard of Lucia, if you've not heard of Lucia, please go and check it out. It's a small app that you can put on LinkedIn profiles, and then 50% of the time it gives you very nice, accurate phone numbers of people. Right? That's a technology. The moment you get phone numbers of people you want to reach out to, you just start, calling them, and you'll see slowly your sales funnel will start becoming better. Right? That's one. Second one, which we use very rampantly at Sales Design is, and by the way, that is part of our business model. And I'm hoping Ekta is on the call. Ekta is our senior business development manager. And we use LinkedIn Sales Navigator for our prospecting. And obviously we see the difference. I mean, if you would have simply stuck to mass emailing or phone calling, we would not have been able to get the kind of CXO connects that we have been able to get till now, not just for our own business, but also for our clients. So these are just 2 examples, but there are wonderful, softwares out there. I'm obviously in future going to do some episode on, how to use technology to improve sales. Right from how to use databases like DataNice, Zoom Info, how to use sort of automation platforms like, or sales development platforms like Outplay, how to use Salesforce better, and so on and so forth, right? And also these small sort of softwares, right, like Lucia, etc. And I don't know, I don't care whether they're legal or not. That thing you will have to figure out. But I can definitely tell you that these are some of the things that we have seen with our own eyes inside our company working out like magic. When I say magic, I don't mean that it is going to improve your sales 2x, but you will slowly start seeing improvement and progress in different parts of your sales funnel, definitely at the top of the funnel, and some of it at the middle. You'll start seeing them slowly. So yes, definitely it does help. As far as top 5 qualities that differentiate best sales rep from others, sorry, I don't know the answer to this question, Harsha. This is a very bookish question. It I've seen a lot of these questions being asked on YouTube. Frankly, I find it difficult to answer this question, and I do not find myself competent to answer this question. I'm still learning. It's not like I'm a veteran at sales, so I don't know the answer to this question. Please pardon me. I will not be able to answer this. But yes, if somebody in the amongst the viewers want to contribute to this question, please you can write it on the live chat so that Harsha can pick up different points of view. Got it. I'm getting tired, but I will still answer. Ujwal got my answer, didn't think other way around. Thank you. You're welcome, Ujwal. Amit. Amit is asking, what do you think upskilling in sales is? Upskilling in sales. Well, frankly, see, upskilling in sales is really, I mean, the best indicator of upskilling in sales is if you are consistently improving some part of your sales funnel. The ultimate test is of course, your closure rate. The rate at which you are closing deals. But then you can also think of metrics which are in the middle or the top of the funnel, right? So how many sort of opportunities are you qualifying? Out of those qualified, how many are reaching the demo phase? After demo, how many of them are reaching the negotiation phase, and so on and so forth. So if you start measuring progress on these metrics, then you are definitely upskilling, right? Because I don't want to give you an airy fairy answer. Again, I belong to an engineering background. My way of looking at sales is also in a very engineering way. I rely on numbers to track progress. So if your salesperson's some part of the sales funnel is not improving, then they are not upskilling. However many sales trainings that you may make them attend. I'm not sure whether I answered your question, Amit. You can always sort of repeat your question if I didn't. Umang says hi. Hi, Umang. Ujwal, thanks. I will charge for sure. ऐसे तो नहीं जाने दूंगा. IITN Bakshi, sir, your fan. Thank you. I am looking forward to convert consultant firm in near time. Can you please tell as to how my preparation should follow? ऐसे कैसे? मैं कैसे बता दूं आपको कि how your preparation should be if you are trying to convert a consultant firm? नहीं बता पाऊंगा बख्शी साहब. मैं तो बस इतना ही बोलूंगा that whatever you are doing, please keep doing the best. But I will say one thing. I may not be the right person to advise you on this, but people who you feel who are already in your organization and you feel are better than you at your trade, please go and ask them how you should be preparing, how they used to prepare, and what tips can you take from them. Because one of the things that and I need to tell this to everyone who's watching this today, is that it is best to learn sales in the environment that you operate, simply because inside the environment that you operate there is a lot of context, right? Super duper context, right? Even sales samvad will only be able to help you to a very limited extent, right? So it's best to, instead of simply relying on an external trainer or external advisor, please go to the person or people in your organization who are more, who are masters at the trade, who you think are better than you, and go and ask them how you should prepare, right? I may have disappointed you with my answer, Bakshiji, but this is the best advice I can give you at this moment, right? Next question comes from Umang, and Umang is saying, is it really a career for creative people? Because output is just not in our hands. Career for creative people. Umang, I'm not sure I've followed your question. And yes, you are right, the output is not in our hands, but that's true in life in general. I hope you've read Bhagavad Gita and you've, there is a very clear shloka in that which says that karmanya vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, and I'm a believer in that. So output is not in our hands. What is in our hands is the input that we put in, the knowledge that we acquire, the wisdom that we acquire from everyone, and we start putting it into practice. That is, any case, the best we can do, right? The output is never in our hands, right? So in that sense, well, it's a career for anyone and everyone who is willing to go in with that attitude. Ekta agrees with me. She's saying absolutely, using tech makes a massive difference at the top of the sales funnel. Thanks, Ekta. Bakshiji is writing, I help aspirants regarding preparation for GATE and PhD interviews on this channel. It would be great to connect with you for guidance session for fellow aspirants. Unfortunately, Bakshiji, I'm not in that trade, so I don't know whether I can help you or not. But Do write to me over LinkedIn, and let's see if we can do something. Frankly, my business and my personal life doesn't allow me time to sort of engage in consulting activities. Vipul says, "Good evening." Hi, good evening, Vipul. Umang, I did not miss your question. I think I just answered it. For negotiation, getting to yes, interesting read. Batna and Zopa, yes, those are interesting concepts, Batna and Zopa. Unfortunately, like I said, like every other framework, at the time you are sitting in front of the client, it's very difficult to recall, oh, acha, Batna, I am at this stage of Batna, so now let me do this, right? So again, that's why things like Batna need to be rehearsed a lot inside the office, and in the context of, your organization, you have to uh, get people to tell you whether you are being able to follow Batna or not. Yeah. Okay. Saurabh, I missed your question. Did I miss your question? Maybe I did. Let me go up. Saurabh, yes, I'm sorry I missed your question. So I'm going to Saurav's question, and Saurabh says, my boss's strategy is to build relationships with every person by any means, like drinking with them in Dhaba, and by any hook and crook, just sell machine considering my age and preferences I don't like. Also, since sector is highly influenced by government policies, whether I am unable to get any result out of my career, even all efforts, how can I improve and be positive? Okay, Saurav, very good question. You are not the first person who's told me this. A lot of people, in fact, I've been in this situation because I've worked in an organization which is sort of old school and almost like a public sector unit. This, by the way, tends to happen where there are government agencies involved and slightly old school clients are involved, right? Where you sort of go out drinking with them, you invite them for parties and stuff like that, right? If that is not your way of doing things, please don't do it, right? Because simply if you do something that you do not enjoy, you're not going to do very well at it, right? And maybe this is a time for you to start rethinking whether you are in the right sector, right? Uh, I know I've sort of jumped few steps and I'm asking you to reconsider your sector, but maybe that is something that you might want to do because you're not going to like it for long. Simply because if you are in such an industry where this is the norm, then you will have to do this because this is what leads to deal closure. Unless you can find somebody in your organization who is able to pull it off without doing all of this. Again, take the same route, find such a person, ask them, sir, mentor karoge mere ko, ma'am, mentor karoge mere ko, and if you can get mentored by them, right? Please go ahead and do it. If you can't, and if it's not coming naturally to you, please don't stick to that sector. You're not going to enjoy it for long. It's not going to last very long. Yeah. Again, I hope I have answered your question and not disappointed you, sort of, but that's just how I feel about this. Yeah. Okay. Now we're in the last 8 minutes, so I'm going to take these last two questions, and then I'm going to update you about my next program, next week's schedule, and then we're going to end this session. Vipul is asking, sir, what will be the future of sales in upcoming days? Again, very broad questions. But I'll tell you what I get to hear from other people around me. See, the future of sales, I don't know in what context you mean, but I guess what you're saying is post-pandemic. Post-pandemic, obviously, one of the biggest things I've noticed is people who used to rely on their personal charm and charisma to impress clients are not going to be able to do that. I'm pretty sure you must be observing this around you with a lot of your friends. For example, I know personally, I know a lot of salespeople who used to, use their charm and charisma to woo clients. Like Saurabh had said earlier, they would sit and chat for hours and then ask them about the weather, ask them about their family vacations and all of that, until the prospect is completely, overawed with your charm, and then they would sort of move in, talking about the deal. Now they are not able to do it with remote selling coming into the picture because people are very clear. They want you to send an invite. It has to be a invite for a particular period of time. That's only the time that you have. So you have to skip, conversation starters are not too long unless they want to indulge in it. And then you have to get to the point quickly, right? So a lot of people who used to rely on their personal charm and charisma are not able to do it anymore. So this is definitely one thing that's going to change in future, which is people are going to bullshit less on sales call. So that's very good news for buyers. And second is buyers will be able to take their sweet time to sort of uh, I mean, take their time to evaluate proposals, right? Because there's nobody sitting on your head in front of you and trying to coax you into doing stuff, right? Second thing I obviously foresee happening is that a lot more technology is going to get used in sales, especially tools like Lucia, different kind of email databases, different kind of auto connect tools, different kinds of CRMs are going to become the norm. And because you'll also see a lot of dashboards being used to monitor sales. I think overall it's good for the industry because people are start going, they're going to become more data centric when it comes to sales. So what I would suggest everybody who's watching is that if you want to prepare for the future of sales, please rely less on your personal charm and charisma and rely more on the strengths of your product and what your product can do to sort of win deals, right? Because your personal charm and charisma is not going to work. It's going to work less and less. Last two questions. Anirudh is asking, how can one decide the industry in which one wants to work after MBA? Should one try different industries or stick to one industry like banking, FMCG, consulting, etc.? Okay, this is a question which is related to MBA. Anirudh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to take this question today because today I am focusing exclusively on questions relating to sales. Maybe this gives me a good idea that I can sometime in the future keep one session on this MBA bit, and I can take up this question over there. Umang is asking, I have done 4 years of BD now, but every now and then I feel nahi chahiye incentive, but I feel even after deal cracking, I don't kick. Is it time to get into something else? This is my missed question above. Interesting. 4 years of BD, but now and then feel nahi chahiye incentive, but I feel even after deal cracking, I don't kick. Okay, got it. Yes, Umang. If you're not feeling the kick, there is something wrong. But again, it is natural. I'll tell you. I don't know you personally. I don't know what you're going through. But I'll tell you a very common scenario. If you are selling the same product for a very long time, or you are selling the same category of product for a very long time, monotony tends to seep in. I have actually met and I know a lot of salespeople that the moment they change their industry, more importantly, the moment they change the product or service that they sell, the moment they change the price point of the product that they sell, for example, you're selling low price point products, and suddenly you enter an industry where there is long cycle sales, which has higher ticket size, more complexity, multiple stakeholders. Suddenly you start seeing that the kick starts coming in again. And why does that happen? That happens simply because the challenge level for you in those sales meetings, in those sales calls has gone up. And I have seen this happening a lot. I mean, more than 70% of the time, this starts happening that people switch the product that they are selling. Even sometimes I've seen people within their company changing the product or the service they're selling, and they get back their kick, right? So before you take the more drastic step of, ki ho gaya sales, right? I would really urge you to consider selling a different nature of product. They're selling a different type of product or a service. If you're selling a product, go more on the services side. If you're selling a service, go more on the product side, and you'll see there'll definitely be a change of mood. If that still does not happen, then I would definitely say ki maybe there is something more fundamental that you want to evaluate, right? Cool. Umang, can I get mentored anywhere with you? यार इसीलिए सेल संवाद स्टार्ट किया है. मेंटर पर्सनली तो नहीं कर सकता, बट सेल संवाद में जितना हो सकेगा उतना कर लेंगे. And yeah, that's that. So with this, we come to the end of the Q&A session today. It's already 1 hour and I still need to tell you about the next. I need to tell you about next week's lineup. So next week lineup is like this. Okay, let me do the screen share. All right. So this is the first session I have next week, which is on Monday. I don't know whether you're able to see my screen. I'm not sure. Okay, so you're not able to see my screen, but I'll tell you. I'm calling in on Monday Professor Rajesh Srivastav. He is the former CEO of JK Helene Curtis, the company that owns Park Avenue brand. He's also the former brand manager of Backpiper Whiskey and Royal Challenge, and he's written a book called The New Rules of Business. So I'm going to talk to him about his book and also ask him, how his experience and his book can help salespeople, specifically B2B salespeople. So that's the first lineup. The second lineup that I have next week is Roshan Karyappa, who is the VP of Marketing at Waymo. Waymo is one of the most popular CRM softwares, and we're going to talk to him about the nightmare of CRM adoption, which again, because you asked questions around technology. So we'll ask him questions around why CRM adoption is an issue and how we can sort of get better at it. It will be a more relevant topic for sales leaders, apart from for frontline salespeople as well, right? So that's the second one. And the third session next week is a bit of a musty session. I'm calling in a stand-up comedian. His name is Garv Malik. He is worked in startups before. Now he's a full-time stand-up comic, and he does a lot of these jokes in startups. So मुझे लगा थोड़ा सा मस्ती वस्ती भी हो जाए. So I'm going to call him next week, right? So these are the 3 sessions next week. I hope some or all of you join there, and please spread the word. The whole purpose of starting Sales Samvaad is that we can start accumulating the tacit knowledge which is there in the industry and start accumulating it at one place. And I want this knowledge to be desi. I don't want it to be imported knowledge, which sometimes lacks context. So I'm going to call in a lot of desi people. It could be founders, people from marketing, from sales, from pre-sales, etc. And we're going to try and combine all the knowledge here. So please spread the good word. And I hope to see most or all of you in the future sessions. Thank you so much for attending the session today. I think I'm ending on time, and I'm going to catch you on Monday. Thank you so much for attending. Namaskar.